morning and welcome to World Talks on TVP World. I'm Anna Kalczyńska. Hope is not a strategy. Secretary General Mark Rutte warned at a meeting in Chatham House that Russia will be ready to attack the NATO alliance in 5 years. And it is able to produce a year's worth of NATO ammunition in just 3 months. Rutte urged the NATO member states to increase their military spending on air defense by 400%. How realistic is this shift in spending strategy among NATO member states, and what has been the response to Rutte's serious warning from NATO leaders? We'll discuss these points with Vaidotas Malinionis, founder and managing director of the National Defense Foundation. Good morning, sir, and thank you for being with us here on TVP World in the morning.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting.
We're all in the eastern flank, says Rutte. Who gets to believe it, and who still treats this warning as political fantasy?
Well, I think it's a very serious warning, and taking into consideration that Russia is increasing its attacks on Ukraine. For example, just recently we did a raid with approximately 500 aerial weapons per night. And Russia's economy is switched to war economy, and probably it doesn't have any chance to roll everything back. The only way is to move forward. This is how it works in dictatorship regimes. So they will go to the end. So the only reasonable solution is to prepare for the defense. And encouragement of the other NATO members to increase their budgets up to 5% out of GDP for the defense, and plus he pointed that air defense and missile defense systems must be increased by 400%. I think it is very important, and our member states should take it seriously. Of course, to answering your question, which states take seriously, of course, Scandinavian, Baltic states and Poland and maybe Romania, they are more serious because we are very close to the threat to the border. So, our resolve to increase budgets is very serious, and we are doing it. Particularly Poland is a good example, yes, and of course other Baltic states.
400% of raising spending, it's a very big amount. I just wonder how realistic is it that the member states take this seriously into account? And also following the latest strikes, Russian strikes on Ukraine, Kiev and Odessa this morning, but Kharkiv last night, I wonder what lessons can NATO draw from Russia's systematic targeting the civilian infrastructure, and how can it adjust its shaping of the future defense and deterring strategies?
The attacking of civilian infrastructure is it's getting more complex, even taking into consideration that drone technologies are also, entering the theater of war. And just recent attack, Ukrainian successful attack on 4 airfields in Russia. Then they targeted strategic aviation, nuclear strategic aviation. This also can fire back, and those technologies shows us that we are very vulnerable in the West, because it's cheap, and not only conventional or those tools and weapons which are used to it, like rockets, yes, airplanes, but the drone technologies plus artificial intelligence technologies are also approaching, and it's also we don't have experience and we don't have the knowledge how to cope with that. So, but basic principles of war is, the best defense is an attack. So we should focus not only on defensive capabilities, but also on attack capabilities, including newest drone technologies, UAVs, and plus artificial intelligence. As Ukrainian and Russia, by the way, also now they are experts in using those technologies, and we see how fast they are developing.
Exactly. So our militaries, this is a quote by Rutte, also need thousands more armored vehicles, tanks, millions more artillery shells, and we must double our enabling capabilities such as logistics, supply, transportation, medical support. How realistic is it that the member states are really seriously going to arm themselves to the teeth? And also, if this statement were true, all other policies should be just simply set aside. Is it politically feasible?
Well, it's a good question, and I think everything depends on the political will. But I agree with General Secretary Mark Rutte, yes, that we must increase our defense capability in NATO countries, because Russia is not going to stop, and we can, expect any surprises, and not only hybrid warfare, but also conventional war activities. So we must act, and Ukraine is providing for us some time for preparation. So the sooner we decide to, the sooner we understand the real what kind of threat is beside us, the better for us. The better we will have a chance to stop it. And as I mentioned, everything depends on the political will, because NATO countries in Europe, we have a lot of resources. We are rich. The continent, the Europe is very rich, team of very rich countries. So the only reason not to defend is lack of political will. So hopefully the coming NATO summit, which will be in June 24th, 26th of June, NATO summit in Hague, will encourage other nations which are still, wavering and do not pay real attention to the threats which is coming. But of course, other tools, other strengths of the economy, social life, are also very important. That should not be left aside.
Mark Rutte says he expects NATO member states to adopt this 5% of spending on GDP by the member states, this threshold here. But with divergency and different understanding among various member states of NATO, how likely is it that NATO could divide into two-speed groups?
It's already divided, we had it, and we can, paint a map of Europe, like according to how countries, perceive the threats. But that map is changing. We already have different color in Germany, in France, and also in United Kingdom. So the map is of perception of threats is shifting to the higher sense of urgency. But of course, we still have the countries in NATO which still not achieved even 2% for the defense from the GDP. Yes, like Spain, Italy, yes, and Portugal. So we still have those countries, but I hope the sense of urgency will increase, and they will join other NATO countries which takes those threats seriously and allocates resources for that.
Mr. Malinionis, how would you comment on recent Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov interview, in which he appears to signal to TASS agency that not only alliance mustn't let Ukraine stay in the Russian sphere, must let Ukraine stay in the Russian sphere of influence, but also withdraw completely from the Baltics?
Well, it's nothing new, you know, and if you remember, in 2022, just before they started full-scale invasion in Ukraine, that was their Russia's message that take all your stuff and move back to the border of 1997. Yes, so that's nothing new. But I don't think they believe themselves what they are saying, but this is just a method of pressure, and war is pressure, constant pressure. So they are increasing pressure, and also they are dividing the nations. For example, chief of intelligence of Russia, yes, foreign intelligence, Narashkin, he just a couple of weeks ago said that in case of war with NATO, first countries which will be suffer a lot will be Poland and Baltic states, and others. And it looks like other states NATO states can stay more calm. So it's also a dividing message, saying that others will not suffer, but those who are aggressive against Russia, they will suffer. So, but it's also a message for divisions.
All right. And just briefly, as we're approaching the end of this conversation, what is your understanding? Why would Russia wage a total war on NATO? Is Russia really so determined to conduct a World War III?
Yes, at least it's their message. At least they want to show they are strong, which is not really the case. They want to show that their will is very unwaverable, yes, and that's their approach. But in terms of capabilities, yes, I don't think they are capable to launch full-scale invasion on NATO, because we're stuck in Ukraine, and even there they are not very successful, yes. We should say that, for example, only during 2024, they tried to demonstrate that their victories are very important, strategic, but which are not the case, because we managed to take over maybe 0.5% of Ukrainian fields or small towns, which is actually not. I wouldn't say it's a success, especially taking into consideration how much they suffered, how much losses they suffered. Yes, they already approached maybe 1 million casualties. So, can we ask, is it really success? I don't think so. But they want to show that it is success, because defeat is actually not a physical shape, but a mental status. So they want to break our mental status with those messages.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights here with us on TVP World. Vaidotas Malinionis, founder and managing director of the National Defense Foundation. Thanks once again.
Thank you for the privilege.
And thank you for watching us here on World Talks TVP World. Please stay tuned for more info and commentaries.